And we have to remember that for those, say, for the 2 million years that we've been a part of the genus Homo, that we've been humans, we've been Homo sapiens for shorter, but we've been humans for 2 million years approximately. Women never had a chance to evolve those traits and skills that would allow them to make their own choices more productively. It was always a tension between what the woman wanted and what her parents or community wanted. So women seem to have evolved an exaggerated attraction to good genes, meaning particularly attractive men, and then not having evolved also the ability to see through men's deceptive strategies to assess her own mate value appropriately and to make those choices that make it a more likely outcome that she ends up pair bonding. Because most humans want to end up in a pair bond. We enjoy promiscuous sex, we have an incredible flexibility as a species, but most people want a partner. So what we're seeing now, and it's become particularly obvious through dating apps like Tinder, is that women channel an extraordinary amount of their dating effort to the very most attractive men. So if you look at the top 1%, top 5%, top 10% on Tinder, they get enormous attention and mating opportunities, while the bottom 80-90% receive very little. And this is why me and a colleague, we introduced the term INSING, involuntary single women, which seems to be a growing phenomenon where women can then spend 5, 10, 15 years of their 20s and 30s dating and having sex with very attractive men from Tinder, and then being very frustrated and increasingly traumatized because none of these men want to commit to a relationship. And that is, let's say, these men that are most active and get most of these mating opportunities, let's say they have a mate value from 95 and up. And if you're a woman with a mate value of 70, you have unlimited access to dating and sex with highly attractive men. But because we as a species mate assortatively, that means with somebody with a similar mate value, all that dating effort is highly unlikely to end up with a relationship. And there are several reasons for this. One is that women have the power on this market. Because men's promiscuous attraction system is so generous, men, according to one study, Norwegian men would like 25 sex partners in a lifetime. Norwegian women would like 5. So there's just such a much larger demand for female sexuality than there is supply that women have the power on that market. And then in addition, you have the fact that women are predominantly drawn to, let's say, the top few percentiles of men, because that's what their promiscuous attraction system draws them to, and that's very immediate. So they have the power to choose only the most attractive men, and those are the men they are drawn to promiscuously. So those are the dynamics of the dating market that makes. So one of the main drivers of low fertility is that women can't find a partner, or they find them too late. So Norwegian women want 2.4 children, they end up having 1.4. And it's also a fact that men generally have become less worth to them, because for 4 million years ago, when the pair bonding attraction system evolved, the function of that was for men to get access to female sexuality and for women to get access to men's resources. And in today's modern world, women can make their own money. In a welfare state like Norway, women get transferred more than $1.2 million more from the welfare state than they pay in taxes, while men pay more in taxes. So women get access to men's resources without having to have sex with them or be in a relationship with them, and they can also make their own money. And we see this from studies universally, that the more equality you have in a society, the freer women you have, the more they exclude the lowest value men from their pool of potential partners. So they will raise their standards because they don't need a man anymore. In the environments that were before, they were impoverished. As a woman, having a man was generally very helpful, economically, for protection, for moral reasons, because your culture pressured it to you. And now that women are completely free, many of them conclude that they can have excellent lives as singles, or at least fairly good ones, so they're not willing to settle for men that have lower partner value. And that's the main driver of the situation we are today. We have created a society in which men are, with an increasing number of men, aren't good enough for women, and that means that fewer and fewer women will have partners with whom they can have a child.
But how much of it have you noticed is self-inflicted from a man's point of view versus society created?
It's entirely society created, from my perspective. I'm an evolutionary scholar, so I don't see humans as autonomous individuals using reason to practice free will. That is the modern Western myth. The way I see humans, like you as an individual can make your own choices, but as a group, we're very predictable. So we respond to incentives in the environment. Men have a certain male mating psychology. Women have a female mating psychology. Of course, between individuals, there are great differences, but there are sex differences that are very influential. And these psychologies will play out differently in different environments. So from a modern Western perspective, we are very primed to say, well, Daniel, you have to pull yourself together. You have to start showering, and you have to start listening to women, and you have to have a better Tinder profile. On an individual level, that might be good advice. On a societal level, it's terrible advice. What it means is that I'm telling you to compete harder. And that's what happened, particularly after this, since the 1960s, the third sexual revolution. Men have had imposed on them a stronger and stronger and stronger competition. And as we know from other aspects of human activities, the stronger the competition doesn't mean that we get a more equal outcome. It's the opposite. You get a higher stratification. So what we've seen in this century, according to some studies, is that more and more mating opportunities are going to the top 5% and the top 20% of men. And there's an equivalent reduction for the bottom 80% of men. So the harder this competition becomes, you will have much more spoils for the few winners and more marginalizations for the men at the bottom. And the men at the bottom are the bottom 80%. So telling men to pull themselves together and compete harder may be a good advice for an individual if you have a buddy who's struggling, but on a societal level, that will likely only make things worse. You can see now, for instance, studies indicate that for the median man, the guy in the middle, statistically, for him to get a mating opportunity through Tinder, he would have to work himself through 30,000 profiles. And that's
30,000.
That's rather dystopic. And I mean, for half of the male population, it's even worse.